Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The Israeli military is calling up tens of thousands of reservists as Israel's security cabinet has unanimously approved plans to expand its assault on Gaza, where Israel's already killed at least 52,000 Palestinians over the past 18 months. That figure is believed to be a vast undercount. Israel's killed more than 2,400 Palestinians since it broke the ceasefire in mid-March. One Israeli official told CNN the new plan for Gaza involves, quote, the conquest of territory and remaining there, unquote. This comes as Israel's devastating blockade on all humanitarian and food aid has entered its third month. Health officials in Gaza say at least 57 Palestinians have already starved to death. According to UNICEF, more than 9,000 children have been admitted for treatment for acute malnutrition so far this year. Aid groups are blasting a new Israeli proposal to take control of aid distribution and put U.S. security contractors in charge. Jan Egeland of the Norwegian Refugee Council said, quote, they want to manipulate and militarize all aid to civilians, forcing us to deliver supplies through hubs designed by the Israeli military, unquote. Meanwhile, Israel continued to attack Palestinians across Gaza over the weekend. One strike in Khan Yunis killed newlyweds Ala Abu Al-Anin and Hala Zurab 1 day after their wedding. Survivors of the blast denounced the Israeli attack.
I
wish my voice could reach the whole world to tell them that we are oppressed. Our children die of hunger every day. They are torn apart in front of our eyes, and we cannot do anything.
In other news from Gaza, one of Pope Francis's Pope-mobiles is being turned into a mobile healthcare unit for children in Gaza. Pope Francis gave his blessing to the initiative just before his death. Tension is escalating between Israel and Yemen after a Houthi missile hit near Ben Gurion Airport outside Tel Aviv. The Houthis said it carried out the strike, quote, in rejection of Israel's crime of genocide, unquote. A Houthi military spokesperson vowed more attacks on Israel.
The Yemeni armed forces announced that they will work to impose a comprehensive air blockade on the Israeli enemy by repeatedly targeting airports, most notably Lod Airport, known in Israel as Ben Gurion Airport.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to respond to the Houthi attack and threatened Iran as well. Meanwhile, the U.S. is continuing to bomb Yemen on an almost daily basis. At least 16 people were injured in U.S. airstrikes overnight in the capital, Sana'a. In an interview on NBC's Meet the Press, President Trump said he does not know if he needs to uphold the Constitution. Trump made the comment when questioned by Kristen Welker.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know. It might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth, some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
But even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know.
In immigration news, Wisconsin's Democratic governor, Tony Evers, is pushing back after Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, suggested he and other Wisconsin officials could be arrested over local immigration policies. Homan made the veiled threat when questioned last week by the far-right website Gateway Pundit.
Why not just arrest the leaders who are harboring and shielding illegal aliens, actually terrorists, from deportation?
Wait to see what's coming.
Yeah. And, well, real quick, your comments on the Wisconsin governor sending directives to state agencies to not comply with ICE and actually stop your deportation efforts.
Wait to see what's coming.
Wait to see what's coming. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers responded in this video posted online.
Overnight, Republican lawmakers piled on, encouraging the Trump administration to arrest me. Chilling threats like this should be of concern to every Wisconsinite and every American who cares about this country and the values held here.
We'll have more on this story after headlines. We'll go to Wisconsin. In related news, the Justice Department has sued the city of Denver and the state of Colorado over their sanctuary laws, claiming they interfere with federal immigration enforcement. In other immigration news, the Trump administration's designated 2 Haitian gangs as terrorist groups. Many experts fear the move could deepen the humanitarian crisis in Haiti if aid groups pull back out of fear of being prosecuted for dealing with armed groups. President Trump says he's directing the Bureau of Prisons to reopen and enlarge Alcatraz, the infamous jail located on an island in the San Francisco Bay. The prison has been closed for over 60 years and is a popular tourist spot that makes tens of millions of dollars every year. Meanwhile, the White House has posted an AI image of Trump depicted as the Pope, prompting outrage. The New York State Catholic Conference of Bishops blasted the president, saying, quote, "We just buried our beloved Pope Francis, and the cardinals are about to enter a solemn conclave to elect a new successor of St. Peter. Do not mock us," they said. In more Trump news, the U.S. Army confirmed there will be a large military parade in Washington to mark the Army's 250th anniversary and the birthday of President Trump, his 79th birthday on June 14th. Some 6,600 soldiers are expected to take part, along with 150 military vehicles and 50 military aircraft. On Sunday, Trump also announced a new 100% tariff on foreign-made films, claiming that they pose a, quote, national security threat. The announcement came as a surprise to Hollywood studios. On Friday, the Trump administration filed an emergency appeal asking the Supreme Court to let members of Elon Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency access sensitive Social Security records of hundreds of millions of people. In March, one federal judge described DOJ's efforts as a fishing expedition that was, quote, in search of a fraud epidemic based on little more than suspicion, unquote. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has forcefully rejected President Trump's idea of sending U.S. troops into Mexico to combat drug cartels. On Saturday, she detailed a call she held with Trump last month.
En una de las llamadas,
in one of the calls, the U.S. President Donald Trump said it was important for the U.S. Army to enter Mexico to help us in the fight against drug trafficking. And I want to say that's true. In some of the calls, he said, quote, "How can we help you fight drug trafficking? I propose that the U.S. Army come in to help you." And you know what I told him? No, President Trump, the territory is sacrosanct. Sovereignty is sacrosanct. Sovereignty is not for sale. Sovereignty is loved and defended.
President Trump lashed out at President Sheinbaum, saying, quote, "She's so afraid of the cartel she can't even think straight," Trump said. In Sudan, the death toll in the city of Al-Hud has risen to 300 days after the paramilitary rapid support forces say they captured the key city in West Kordofan state, which borders Darfur. Among the 300 killed in the RSF attacks were at least 21 children. Separately on Sunday, RSF drone attacks struck a military port in the city of Port Sudan. It's the first direct attacks on the de facto capital of Sudan's military-led government since the devastating civil war broke out over 2 years ago. This all comes as the International Court of Justice is ruling today in Sudan's genocide case against the United Arab Emirates, which Sudan accuses of fueling the RSF. In South Sudan, at least 7 people were killed, including a 9-month-old baby, and another 20 were injured in bombings on a market in Fanga County in the greater Upper Nile region. The group Doctors Without Borders said the explosions completely destroyed its pharmacy and damaged its hospital, the area's only hospital. The perpetrator has not been confirmed, but the deadly attack comes at a time of increasing conflict amidst fears of a new civil war in South Sudan after a power-sharing deal collapsed in March. In Australia, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and his ruling Labor Party will remain in power after defeating Conservative Peter Dutton of the Liberal Party in Saturday's national elections. Dutton's hardline immigration plans and criticism of China earned him comparisons to Trump by Australians, who cited the high cost of living as their top concern. Dutton was roundly rejected by voters Saturday and even lost his own seat, despite leading in the polls a few months ago. The victory for Australia's Labor Party comes a week after Canadians also rejected the Conservative challenger in national elections. Prime Minister Albanese delivered a victory speech in Sydney.
In this time of global uncertainty, Australians have chosen optimism and determination. Australians have chosen to face global challenges the Australian way, looking after each other while building for the future.
Earlier today, the Australian Prime Minister said he had a warm conversation with Trump on tariffs and the joint Australia-US-UK Defence Pact. In Romania, the hard-right nationalist pro-Trump politician George Simeon won the first round of presidential voting Sunday. He'll face Bucharest Mayor Nicolae Dan in a runoff on May 18th. The election comes 5 months after Romania's constitutional court annulled a presidential election won by the far-right ultra-nationalist Călin Georgescu, who was barred from running again after being charged with campaign violations and being involved with a fascist organization. Despite the charges, Simeon has vowed to give him a leadership post if he wins the runoff. An Illinois landlord who stormed the home of his tenants and fatally stabbed a 6-year-old Palestinian-American boy in October 2023 has been sentenced to 53 years in prison. In February, a jury had found Joseph Juba guilty of murder and hate crimes for killing Wadi al-Fayoum, who he stabbed 26 times. Ahmed Rahab, the executive director of CARE Chicago, said, quote, "No sentence can restore what was taken, but today's outcome delivers a necessary measure of justice. Wadi was an innocent child. He was targeted because of who he was, Muslim, Palestinian, and loved," he said. Questions are mounting about Pennsylvania Democratic Senator John Fetterman's ability to continue serving after recent reports that former and current staffers are increasingly concerned about his erratic behavior. Senator Fetterman, who had a stroke in 2022, had run as a progressive but has sharply shifted to the right. Last year in May, his former chief of staff wrote a 1,600-word email to the medical director of the Traumatic Brain Injury and Psychiatry Unit at Walter Reed, expressing concern over Fetterman's mental health, including his, quote, conspiratorial thinking, megalomania, and rambling, unquote. New York Magazine reveals that in a private meeting in February, Senator Fetterman spoke against Israel's then ceasefire, saying, quote, "Let's get back to killing," unquote. During a discussion on Gaza and the Palestinians, he reportedly said, quote, "Kill them all," unquote. In February, The Intercept reported there had been an exodus from Fetterman's staff, in part due to his shift on Israel and his willingness to work with President Trump. Many of Fetterman's small donors have also asked for him to return their campaign donations to him. The world's richest man, Elon Musk, now has his own city. On Saturday, residents in South Texas voted to make the home of Musk's SpaceX rocket company its own city, called Starbase. It's located about 25 miles east of Brownsville. Most of the voters are believed to have been SpaceX employees. The South Texas Environmental Justice Network campaigned against Starbase becoming its own city, warning it could lead to more environmental damage to the area. In other news from Texas, Republican Governor Greg Abbott has signed the country's largest school voucher program into law, making Texas the 16th state to make taxpayer funds available to pay for private schools. So-called school choice is a Republican-push program which sucks money from budget-strapped public schools and largely benefits wealthier families. This comes as the conservative-led U.S. Supreme Court appears poised to allow publicly funded charter schools to start including religious schools. In more education news, the Justice Department last week terminated a half-century-old school desegregation order in Louisiana. The Plaquemines Parish School Board came under a federal consent decree in 1966 for refusing to comply with the landmark Brown v. Board decision outlawing segregation in schools. Trump's Department of Justice said it's, quote, correcting wrongs from the past. And in more related news, the Education Department has launched an investigation into a Chicago school program designed to help black students. The federal agency said it could withhold federal funding from the district over the Black Student Success Plan, alleging it discriminates against non-black students. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report.